All right, hey guys, Sam here back with you on Tuesday, September 18th, and per the polling that we do amongst members. Next up by request here is a look at the Euro Yen. Now, FX, one of my preferred markets to trade, particularly when crypto is just in this relentless bear. There's plenty of opportunity over here in FX, although as I've mentioned previously, when you're trading FX, you really want to look long term. It requires a more patient approach to trading, but it can be very well rewarded if you're willing to be that patient. So just to do a quick review here, so I have a daily chart up here. Now we're going to get over to the hard right edge in a sec, but just to do a quick review, and in part just to show you why I like these markets and how technically they will often trade. So we can see here there's the classic ABC that we get down here, but you know, if we just look at it, just the most rudimentary things we would do here. So if we look here, so front run on the possibly, right? We don't quite make the target here. We don't quite make the 50 here. We do ultimately get to target. So you might look at that and think, okay, is that a little bit premature? Well, could be. Well, if you miss that one, fear not, because you got a second chance at it. So perhaps you're sitting up here, your stop's a couple of ticks in front of the 50, and you don't get filled for whatever reason. Well, don't fear, because if you miss one, there will be another. So if we look here, so you can, if you miss that one, you had the next shot at it here or here, right? So no problem. So that's, I mean, this is a daily chart. That is a substantial move from 121.3 down to 97.8. Again, that kind of a move, while it requires a tremendous amount of patience. That's April 13 of 2011 to January of 2012. Right? And it looks like, as I recall, it looks like there's another one in there as well. So if I look here, all right, so here, so this actually doesn't make target, but you had another sell here. So here's the sell at the 50, doesn't quite make its target. And I can't tell but it looks like we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you had a 5-wave structure to imply that you potentially had a pivot down there. But just making the point of how technical these can be. So let's pull that off here and see how we look coming back the other way. So if you didn't catch that, you're like, no, man, maybe you're just getting tuned in to how technically foreign exchange market trades. So we look here and say, okay, well, here was our pivot. Well, coming back up, how do we look? Well, again, I'm going to go stay here on the daily. Well, it looks like we get a pretty clear 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like that's 4 going up into a 5. So we finish here. So first we just check it. So if this is our 2 and that's our 3, how do we look here? Well, right between the 23 and the 38. So boom. Right to well, you can see it here. So right to the first target, we get a reaction. Then we go second target. Right? Again, another reaction. And interestingly, and here's always the tell. So on the assumption that we have this correctly labeled as 1, 2, 3, we get an A, B, C into a double bottom here. It looks like a slight truncation on the C wave for the 4. Well, then looking for that 5th to move. Well, here's the tell in it, right? So we get this lack of an overlap here. So that, again, I promise you that doesn't happen by accident or randomly. So just to zoom in on this a little bit more. So if this is the 4 and we're looking for that 5 to complete, well, here's the tell that there's one more kick into it. So you think, oh, well, okay, cool. Was it technical? So we go from the length of the 2. So we get just past the 50, just enough so that we don't overlap that. Just get a couple of ticks shy of it. And of course, what do we get here yet again? So likely that's just a front run on the target. All right, so very, very technical, all the way down, all the way up. So here's the tell that's likely a 4. We push up, we get a technical pivot. Well, how do we look coming down? All right, so same thing. Nothing's different here. I'm still on a daily chart, just trying to get right on my pivot there. Okay, so what do? We come down, we get an A wave, B wave, right into the golden zone. This 2 and through, we get second target on this one. Right, so just absolutely textbook. You can't have it any better than that. So we look here and we think, okay, well, if this is a completed 5-wave structure, I've got a candidate for a 1-wave. I go into an A, 3-wave B, right to golden zone, rip to second target. So something is up here. So I have a contender for a 1-2 here in the larger degree. So again, same thing, guys. So if we look here now, it looks like that goes deep, but we know a 2-wave can go anywhere from the 50. Look at the reaction at the 50. Can't hold it. Down we go. Well, we go deep here. So we break the 65, but we know a 2-wave, right, with our Elliott hats on. We can go that deep. right? And we knew there was a target down here from the B wave here, so we went to second target. But it certainly doesn't invalidate a count, so I have a very reasonable contender here for a 1-2, right? We trend in 5s, we correct in 3s. So on the assumption that I have a 1-2, well, that's implying that we've got much higher prices yet to go. So 3, 4, and 5 are up here, these are just placeholders for us. So if that's a good 2, if we have this correctly identified, given that ABC structure looks like a strong candidate for a 2, well, we may very well just be in the beginning phases of trying to put in the 1 wave of the 3rd wave of the larger degree. Right, long way to go. So unlikely this is going to push up here. We're going to get a hyperextension in the 5th. So likely there's some sort of a pivot up here, which would give us a candidate for the 1 wave of the 3rd wave, assuming we're going that high. All right, well, let's dig into that a little bit. Let's go down. Let's go to a 3-hour, see how we look coming out of this. So coming back over here, this is our, let me bring this down here. Yeah, where is it? Here we go. So here's our candidate for our 2 wave down here. Now we get kind of a squirrely looking 1 wave here, but again, for the same reasons as before, because I've got a significant level here, I'll show you why I've done that. So now, granted, we're going back, this is with the benefit of hindsight, right? We know what follows. So it's a matter of trying to identify, can I get a 1 wave here that makes sense to support what comes next? Well, I can. It's a bit of an ugly diagonal. So I can get from this low here, I get a 1, deep 2. This is far enough, so it's longer than the 1 wave. Here's my ABC into a 4, and then I end, the extension comes in the 5th. If I recall, this is decent. So if that's my 3 wave here, all right, so we get deep. We don't threaten the 2, but we've got kind of an ugly diagonal here. So we've come very deep for the 4, but then the fact that I can go up in 5 to complete here is why I lean into this as a completed 1 wave, because I can go 1, 2, 3, 4 up for the 5, and then yet again I go A, B, C to correct it. Well, if this is a 1 wave, well, then I'm looking for something technical here on the 2. So I'm just going to do as I would with any 1 wave. I'm just going to grab that low, go up to my pivot high, get it right on there. All right, what do we do? Right to the golden zone. Right? So I mean, just can't get any better. You can't ask for it any better than that. Literally, it looks like it just goes down just far enough to get in the zone, run the stops at the 618. That's why you have to use the 65. So they come down here, just put a toe in it, run the 618 stops, and then look at the reaction, right? So we go straight through. So we don't even pause here hardly. It's at first target here before we get up to second target. So it looks like a reasonable contender here for a 1-2. Well, if that's a 1-2, let's see, can I do it in 3 hours? I'm going to have to go to a 4. If that's a 1-2, well, I'm looking for my 3rd up here. I'm anticipating that, God darn it, for that to be technical. I guess I got to go to an 8 to get a good look at that. Okay, so 1-2. Well, let's measure it. Okay, so if this is my 1 wave here, down to my 2, and I get that right on there? Get it right on there. This is my 2. Right, well, here's 100%, so we come just shy of the 1618, which has me leaning into that as my 3rd wave. I can get all the subdivision that I need there. Look, we end with a diagonal, right? You can see the overlap of the 4 here to the 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up we go for an ending diagonal to give me a candidate for my 3rd here, just shy of my target, my high probability target for my 1618. So I like this as a 1, 2, 3. Here's the big tell. Down we come in an ABC. So we do not overlap the 1. So you're anticipating this to be technical. So we look here. So if we've got it properly identified, we go up to the pivot for the 3. Well, we've had these pokes come down here and get through the 50, so it's deep. But look here, so as we hold the 1. So it's hard to count that as anything other than a 1, 2, 3 is in, A, B, C. It actually looks like we might have something more complex here. So let's break that down a little bit. So looking here, so the question is, what's next? So this is just a great example of why I encourage you to look at FX. So as we come down here, so I can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I get an A wave. Then here's the A, B, the classic, right? So we trend in 5s, we correct in 3s. Well, how does that look? Is it technical? So we take the length of the A. What do we do? Right to the 50. We've gone to and through target. So we've had a big a big dip down here. See, then you think, well, what else could that be? If this is if I take the length of the A wave projected from the B, well, there's 100%. So we get a little bit of some technical idea of why do we stop down here, and then yet again we come down and check it again. But there's a potential here for this to just be a WXY. So if I grab it this way, this is not unreasonable to think that we've got an ABC that completes. Here's the X wave, and are we completed here? It's hard to say, right? So if this is Y, or is there one more push down? Hard to call that. What I can see is an ABC, then I get another ABC. So the alternate would be that we're doing this on a larger degree. So let me pull this out here. So candidate would be, let's take that down a degree. So here's a I'll go submicro on that. So one alternate would be that we've got an A, B, C. So this would be a larger A wave. So if we think of the larger degree, we could consider this A, B, and then C has come down here to put in our fourth. Let me get that in yellow, and we'll go up a few degrees so we can see it better. So that's a possibility here. Because of this ending 5 here, because I come down here and I finish with a 5th. So possible. We've got an A, B, and we're going to have a truncation in the C, possible. Or we go A, B, C, X, then this is A, but B looks like we're already challenging that. So if this is A and this is A, B, C into a B, I don't like it as much. So I like this pivot down here. So essentially we've tested this low twice, and we've had an impulsive move coming off of it, right? So we can't be definitive until we take out this pivot here. But I prefer this count a little bit more because of this ending 5 down here. It looks to me like we're finished. And again, as I note there, so again, this is all, so if we look here and we say, well, if that's my A wave, all right, so here's my 50, then you think, well, what could it be, something else? Well, here we've gone through the 786. We're about to check it again. It's hard to know. So here's the first pivot down here. So here's the 50 to and through. So then if we use the next one, 50, can't get to the 618, back down. Is that just a double bottom? Hard to say. So we go with where can we be definitive? Well, we can see this looks like we get an A, B, C to finish this here. So potentially this is a 5-3. You'd rather have 5 in here, but I could probably dig it out. I'm on an 8-hour there. Oh, let's go down just a hair. Let's go down to a 3-hour. See how that looks. Yeah, you can. Yeah. It really looks more like an ABC. So we might have to change the count based on what we see happening here. But this looks fairly definitive, and it looks very technical. If I recall, this was perfect. Right, so here it is again. Right, so we go A wave, golden zone for the B. Right, so there it is. Right, there's the footprint. Right, that I've shown 1,000 times here. So we come golden zone, we go right to target. Look at the reaction. Right, so I know it's trading technically. We've got good pivots here, but now question is, well, where are we in the count? Well, if this is finishing something down here, and the fact that we don't overlap the 1 here, so this 4 of this larger degree being a bit of a tell. All right, so where is that? No, I can't do it. So if we think about this, just as we saw it previously as a tell on where we are in the count, the fact that we don't overlap here as a potential 4, I'm inclined to think, okay, I've got a very technical 2, I've got a technical 3, I've got an A, B. There's some complexity into this as to ultimately how we end up counting it. We'll have to see what happens at this pivot. But if this is an A, B, C, or some combination, what I'm really keying off of, well, how do I look here for my 4, right? And as I've shown you, so if we look from our 2 to our 3, we're kind of in between. So we've had these spikes through, but we don't challenge the 1. So I'm still inclined to think that we've double bottomed here in some sort of an ABC, some sort of a correction here. And I don't want to lock into a count until we take out this pivot. But so coming off of this double bottom down here, again back to my 3-hour, it looks like I've got a fairly good contender for a 1 wave coming off of this low. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on the assumption that I've got a completed impulsive structure there, well, what do? Now we go A, B, C, 50 to the tick, right? Which is why I lean into that as a candidate for, so all of this having completed down here, The 4 being in, not violating that low. I've got an impulsive move off of it. So this is a candidate for a 1 wave coming off of it. So it would be the 1 wave, 2 wave to 50 to the damn near to the tick. It's within a tick or two of it. So 3, 4, and 5 still yet to come. Now that degree is a little crazy. So let's get down to, we can go. Let's go sub minuet. Let's go to blue so we can see it. Okay, so if that's a 1, off of that completed 5, here's my 3 wave, perfectly technical 2 wave for an ABC. And it looks, again, like I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we don't overlap. Looks like the 5 is going in here, so this is a pivot to pay attention to. This would potentially alter some of the potential candidates for what kind of a correction we have in a combination. But you see, here's the 3, 4, 5 that we finish in that I think lends itself as a C wave here. Impulsive 1, ABC, technical pivot 2. Well, look here where our targets are. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get through this pivot here. So upper targets, if that's a 1, 2, we then 3, the candidate for the 3 is up here at our negative 100. Right, so 1, 2, we know that the negative 100 is going to be very close to the 1618, so we've got all of that teed up. Well, then, of course, with a good technical pivot here, we're going to put a pitchfork on it. So see how that lines up. So we don't know when it gets there, right? But just so we've got so here's our favorite, our corner pocket, right here on the 50. So we get a technical pivot. We know we have 80% probability, if that pivot holds, of eventually making the median line. Now, we don't know if it makes it here, could make it here, could make here. We just don't know. But it would not be uncommon for us to tap it. As we come up here, we've got our first level algo target here, then retrace it. Then we start going. Right, we're looking for a third. Remember, we're trying to identify an impulsive structure here. So if this is 1, 2, much like the idea here that this was a tell for the 4, if this is 1, 2, by the nature of this going right to the 50 and then getting this reaction, well, we're looking for the third of the 5th. Right, 4, 4, and 5 all still yet to come. So now we got to back that out again and say, well, where could we be in the larger degree? All right, so trying to put the whole thing together, I guess I've got to go back out further. Let's go to the 12-hour. Right, so this is our larger degree target up here. So if we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 up for this target up here, that's potentially just completing, that's why I had the larger degree on, that's potentially just completing a 1 wave, 2 wave, 3, 4, and 5. So let's get that. We'll go to yellow and we'll go up to minuet. All right, so you see how the idea being we've got a good candidate here for an impulsive structure off of this 2 low. So from that larger degree, 1, 2, looks like we've got a candidate for the larger 1 wave to go in, 2 waves still yet to come, 3, 4, and 5 all much higher. So it's hard not to be bullish on this count. So we sit and wait now. So it's a matter of trying to identify where's the next opportunity. So if you didn't buy down here at the 50, well, where's the next play? Well, even if we go down to the hourly, you got to wait for a reaction here because this is the last trade. So we need a reaction off of some sort of a target, a pivot, maybe it's the median line. So the first trade is really just waiting for that next 50. So if this is going to go 1, 2, well, we're looking for an impulsive structure in our third. So we're looking for a 1, 2 within the third of the 5th. Right? I know it's complicated. That's why I constantly make a point of changing colors and degrees so you don't lose track of where you are. So if this is, we're just in the 5th wave of potentially the first wave of the 3rd wave of the largest degree. I know that's hard to keep track of it, which is why it would get, so if I had this on my screen, I'd have either 3 or 4 different windows where I'd have the 1 hour, maybe the 3 or the 4 hour, the daily or the 3 day, so I can keep track of where I am in that larger degree. But this looks to me like the 1, 2 is in, and we're in the process of putting in potentially now the 1 wave of the 3rd wave of the 1st wave, right? To get that all back together, you got to go out to the daily. And then think, okay, if that's a 2, well, then we're just putting the 1 wave in. Then we're going to wait. We're going to wait for the 1 to complete. Then we're going to take the first 50 off of that. Right, so if this is a completed one, we'll, again, hypothetical, if we were to complete up here, right, then where's the next trade? Right here at that 50, right? So if this is our 1, then we're looking for the 2 from this swing, dominant swing to dominant swing. Again, I'm hypothetical up here, but if we come down off of that with some sort of an A, B, C, then you're looking for the big move there. Right, so that's what I see. Now, this requires a tremendous amount of patience to trade this, but look at the size of these moves and how technical they are. Right, got a little squirrely in here. This was unusual. But that double bottom and the reaction off of it suggests that as we hold the 1 here, we're just in the one wave. Here's our 2 of the 3rd wave. Right, so we sit and we wait. So this is going to require attention. So if we go up here and pivot here, I would not be a seller there, but this is potentially the next trade. So if we come down in 5 and then we get a retrace for our B, right, so we come up here, B, always a challenge to get to new highs that fails, right? And we start to roll over, there's definitely a trade from the B into the C, anticipating that it's going to go down at least to the 50. So here's the next trade as I see it. Again, I'm hypothetical. If we pivot down here, somewhere in here between the 50 and the 786, there should be a trade with the opportunity for that to go to and through. Again, we don't know where this pivots or what this looks like. It's all just hypothetical, but there's a potential roadmap that would tee you up to get into the 3rd of the 3rd, right, of the big one, right? So here's the 2, 1 of the 3rd, 2 of the 3rd, 3rd of the 3rd. That's your moneymaker. You could be in that for 2 years. Right, so it does require a lot of patience. It really does. So just keep that in mind, but then you don't have to babysit it all the time. That's the advantage of it. All right, guys, with that, I'll wrap it. And just a reminder, give us a follow over on Twitter. We poll regularly there for what's going to get video analysis. And if you're interested in our education, our content, how we approach, how we communicate this methodology and the way we do it via the borrowing from the martial arts format here. So we take you through a series of belts and tests so that we know, so we're confident that you've internalized this material and you can recreate it in a variety of different situations. So we really care about you understanding the material. It's not just come on in, pay us and best of luck to you. No, it's a much closer relationship with our members because we want to know that you know before you go out on your own, so that you're comfortable with us, so that we can see that you can replicate it repeatedly with a variety of different circumstances. All right, so you can always learn more about that over on our website. That's tradedevils.com. Got a public Discord. So all of those links are over on our Twitter feed. You just go, you'll find them at the top. I think they're a pinned tweet. All right, guys. See you later.